The term enough money definitely varies from person to person. For someone, it can mean just making enough to live comfortably, own a house, maybe even raise a family. For others, it can mean just earning enough to pay that guy off Craigslist to meet you behind Walmart. Meanwhile, others can be the richest people on the planet, owning almost half of the world's financial assets and still do their best to avoid paying any taxes. Ooga booga 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 booga. Here comes the tax man. Just leave me alone. I mean, come on guys, can you really blame them? How else are they supposed to afford their $50 million wedding? What, are they supposed to not make their workers pee in bottles? Anyways, this entire thing got me thinking about how greedy corporations and CEOs are. Like, goddamn, you're not even trying to hide it anymore. Strategies of high corporate greed is so much more obvious right now than it has ever been. And if it weren't already obvious, some people are not too pleased about this. Like, come on, how is it legal to say that you're having a sale when in reality it's the exact same price, or just straight up shrinking the products and still making it more expensive? For example, since 2022, I have watched my grocery store slowly increase the cost of a block of cheddar cheese from $6.99 all the way to $10.99. That's a time frame shorter than the average presidential term. I was 18 years old when this was the price. I'm 21 now. What the fuck, man? Now, the most obvious solution would be, okay, cut cheese out of your diet. Switch to Kraft singles. Are you listening to yourself right now? First off, cheese is awesome. Second off, I thought we were supposed to be worrying about microplastics, not eating them. But you know what? I do hear what you're saying. Cheese is a little bit, that's not too necessary, right? Let's try something else like egg. $16. For the what? The result of two chickens having a good time? I know that gym bros are in shambles. I'm sorry, guys. Now, with tariffs affecting imported eggs and a sudden outbreak of bird flu, that caused an egg shortage, which meant that there was higher demand for an everyday product, which meant that if you found them, you'd be willing to pay almost any Wait a second. Raising prices will affect anybody who doesn't wipe their ass with $100 bills. Hold on. Do you guys hear what's coming? Because I do. Here comes the money. That being said, grocery store prices are always slowly going to get more expensive over time because that's just how inflation works. Old people are always talking about how crazy inflation is because they would never spend more than $1 on a week's worth of groceries. Back in my day, I could use a quarter to raise an entire family, and my secret one in Vietnam. Companies are always going to hide behind inflation and use it as their first excuse when people criticize them for making prices go way out of control. Now, if you really think the dick tastes that good, then that's fine. In this scenario, let's say the only reason prices are so expensive isn't because of corporate greed, but simply because of inflation. If that's the case, then what is the possible excuse that anybody can possibly think of when it comes to shrinkflation? This is probably the most obvious form of corporate greed on the planet. It is so ridiculous how companies are just allowed to take a product that was a certain size and slowly shrink it down because, oh, the consumer isn't gonna notice. How stupid do you think the average person is? What, you think people aren't able to tell that you're keeping lemonade at $2.99 yet shrinking it by 30%? They slowly shrink the portion size that they're giving you because they know inflation is eventually gonna make things more expensive while selling you less product. It's not even necessarily just groceries, it's fast food too. Maybe I'm living in a fantasy land, or the Mandela effect just seems to be really strong nowadays. But I could have sworn there was a time period where fast food burger patties weren't thinner than an Oreo. You can't even deal with the aftermath of fast food, taking a shit, and not be affected by shrinkflation. Look what they're doing to toilet paper. Again, this isn't just for food products. No, this is for things like a house, a place to live. The average age in the US for home buyers has now jumped to 56 years old. No, let me put this into perspective. 56 years old, provided you're not some mythical eldritch elf being from the Lord of the Rings universe, your life is already more than half over at this point. Maybe you can buy a house because it's not even guaranteed. This is partially due to people buying so much more property, yet nobody actually living in them. Companies are even buying up multiple houses, and instead of, housing themselves with it, they just let it sit there vacant as it creeps up in value over the next 30 years. 4 years ago, we had to sell our childhood home, and it was bought up by an investor. As soon as we moved out, this guy tore down the house, built 2 new houses, each of which having 3 units. And over the past 3.5 years, every single one of these units, except for one, has been left vacant. And I have a slight hunch that the reason it's not a hot commodity on the market and selling fast like hotcakes is maybe because this company is trying to rent it out for $2,500 a month for this tiny ass space cosplaying as a New York City apartment. This is ridiculous. Who is going to voluntarily live in here? An Oompa Loompa? I've seen apartments in New York City more spacious than this. But granted, that's like comparing having a wet fart to in your pants. Like, they're both really bad. There's an area in New York City called Billionaires Row where the majority of the real estate is owned by billionaires and left completely vacant. You can't convince me this isn't some super deep-rooted money laundering scheme going on within the ultra-wealthy. Are they using Pokemon cards? Well, that statement aged like milk. The currency used by the ultra-wealthy indeed wasn't Pokemon cards or even money. It was children. Now, I'm not sure about what you think, man, but raising the prices on these things? Yeek. Not the greatest look, man. I've had poops in my toilet that look better than this. But would you believe me if I were to tell you that these two things are like putting droplets of water into the ocean? They are absolute nothingness in comparison to the practices of insurance firms. These businesses are so evil and lucrative, somehow even worse than reselling fake designer on Depop. In case you're not up to speed on what insurance is, let's say you're paying a health insurance company $150 a month, and that's on the lower end. You pay this company monthly, so that way if you need to go to the hospital, the insurance firm covers a lot of the costs for the medical bills, so that way you're not in crippling debt because of that time you tried to recreate a jackass stunt when you were 12 years old. That's the beautiful concept that is health insurance. Now, is that actually how it works? Son, I'm crying. You think the premium service you pay for is actually gonna provide for you? Get a load of this fucking pour on, am I right, guys? Time and time again, health insurance firms have been caught doing their absolute best to weasel their way out of doing the exact service that people are paying for. See, health insurance firms do their absolute best to make it as vague as possible. They only cover certain procedures in certain hospitals by certain doctors. They on purpose make it as vague as possible, so if you come to them and make a claim, you best believe they are going to do their absolute best to go deep within their book as big as SpongeBob's active routine maintenance manual and say that, well, if you pay attention, according to the fine print located on section 23 paragraph 7a, your claim doesn't fall under insurance policy. The main goals of these companies aren't to treat people and keep you as healthy as possible. No, their main thing and main goal is to maintain as much profit as possible, and the way they do so is by keeping costs as low as they can. It's never going to be in the best interest about you. How can you get the best quality care out of this? No, it's always going to lean more towards how can we save as much money as possible. Ugh, God, this stupid poor person keeps crying about his leg. Do we need to put a cast on it? I have a saw. This is in no way the fault of any doctor or healthcare professional out there. I know it's insane to believe considering they're doing every insurance company's worst nightmare, but they're actually treating their patients like human beings. Ew, the way that you're treating them, it's so gross. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go pay a 60-year-old immigrant from El Salvador to clean my entire penthouse for $12. Here's a letter coming from United Healthcare denying a specialized wheelchair for a child, claiming it is not medically necessary, yet at the same time acknowledging that it is. Here's another one that a doctor wrote to United Healthcare after they denied nausea medication for a child on chemotherapy. Listen, I am in no way condoning anything. Do not take words out of my mouth. But are they really still clueless? Again, not condoning anything, just some food for thought. A lead sandwich for thought. And yet, believe it or not, even after all of this, there are still dinguses, idiots, who will do their absolute best to defend these billionaires and corporations as much as they possibly can. They sit there in their trailer park house on their verified Twitter account, tip-tapping away about, please, we can't tax them higher amounts. If we do that, they're gonna leave. Hey man, do you know how much of an idiot you sound like right now? Just because you're defending these ultra billionaires, they're not gonna reach out to you personally and give you their pocket change of $20,000. More than anything, I bet what's actually happening is they're sitting in their $20 million house in Calabasas, Los Angeles and thinking, A sucker is born every day. They are not on anybody's side but their own. There's so much more I can say, but I just don't have the time. I'm definitely gonna make a part 2 to this. I'm sorry, I'm so sick right now. Make sure to follow my Twitter, my Twitch, and my Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I will see you guys next week. Bye.
I was wondering, I got this lovely feeling that just makes me wanna.